Hi everybody, this is Bonnie with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you my new shawl. I'm calling this Quadrotriticale shawl or scarf because it can be worn as either a shawl or a large scarf. And use some very special yarn that I'm going to show you in just a minute. Before I do, I just wanted to make mention that this is an intermediate level crochet design because it features both the small and the large wheat cable. Now, if you are a confident beginner, I dare say you should probably go ahead and take a look at these stitches because they could be right up your alley. Don't ever be afraid to try something new and, dare I say, even a little bit above your current skill level, because that's the best way that you can grow your skills. And mistakes, as always, are allowed because that's the best way we learn. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need.
For this project, I'm going to be using 3 hanks of yarn, which is made by Created For You by Laura. This is called the Knobby Stash yarn. It again is a fingering or a sock weight yarn, 85% superwash merino wool, and 15% Donegal nib. And these are 2-ply with 438 yards or 100 grams per hank. I am going to recommend that you have a size G or 6 or 4.00 millimeter crochet hook for this project. And also, I recommend that you have a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. To begin, we're going to start with a slip knot and we're going to chain 4. And working in the very first chain, or the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to work 5 double crochets. Okay. Now we're going to chain 2, turn, we're going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to work front post, double crochet in the next 2 stitches, back post, double crochet in the next 2 stitches. This is row 2. And then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. And this is what you should have after completing 2 rows. Now for row 3, we're going to turn, chain 2, and we're working the basket weave. So we're going to work this in multiples of 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip that first stitch. We're going to work a double crochet or a front post double crochet in that first stitch. Then we're going to work 2 back post double crochets. Then we're going to work 2 front post double crochets. And we're going to work a half double in the turning chain. So that's what you should have after row 3. Row 4, we're going to work a chain 2. Now let me just say something about each of these sides as we begin row 4. This side, which is going to be on the left for the right-handed version, this is the side that's going to be increasing. This side of the design is going to stay the same. We will always end the row before that with a half double crochet and then a turn. So you're not going to be adding anything on this end. Just want to be clear about this. Okay, just on this one side.
So let me just explain a little bit of what's going on with the basket weave here. We're going to work this in 2-row repeats. So if you see a front post, which will be protruding on the front side, you work a front post. If you see a back post, like we see a back post here, we work a back post. But we only do that consistently for 2 rows, and then we reverse it. And you'll see what that means and what it looks like as we go further. Always skip the first stitch. Again, this is row 4. 2 back post double crochets, and then we work 2 front post double crochets, then we work a back post double crochet, and then we work 2 double crochets in that turning chain. Now if you're not sure, just to be clear, if you're not sure if this is confusing, what you can do is just place a stitch marker on one side. So we'll put a stitch marker on this, not to mark a particular stitch, but just to mark, to remind you that this is the side that's going to increase. Okay? After we do several more rows, you'll be able to see it clearly once the cabled texture becomes part of the design. So let's go ahead and turn. And so this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be row 5. Chain 2. Okay, so now we have 2 front posts already together. So now it's time to work a back post. I'm going to skip that first stitch. We're going to work back post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then front posts in the next 2, and then 2 back posts. And a half double in that turning chain, because again that we are not working any increases on this side. Okay, so let's turn. So now we have all of the basket weave worked. We're only going to work 6 basket weave stitches across, and that's going to line the entire side of the shawl or the scarf. Let's go ahead and chain 2. Now as we go forward, we're adding additional stitches that will be incorporated into cables as soon as we get enough to do that. Skip that first stitch, and again we just have 1 row with the front post, so this will be the second row. 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets, and then 2 more front post double crochets, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the turning chain, just like that. And you can see the scarf growing already and widening as we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and chain 2. Just go ahead and work half doubles in the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to reverse the basket weave, because we have two rows that are the same, so now we're going to reverse it. So we have 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 more front post double crochets, and then a half double crochet in the turning chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows completed. Now for row 8, chain 2, and we're going to do another row. We have back post, and it's just 1 row so far, so now this will be the second row. Do back post double crochets for those first 2 stitches, then front post double crochets, followed by 2 more back post double crochet. So hopefully by now you're understanding where we're headed with this. Okay, so we're going to work half doubles in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to work 2 half doubles in the turning chain. Let's go ahead and chain 2 and turn. Okay, so now we have 4 stitches, actually 3 stitches. So we're going to continue this for just a little while longer, and then we will start working our foundational cables. Let's go ahead and work 1, 2, these are half double crochets, 3, and 4. And so now we have 2 rows with the front post, so now it's time to reverse it again. So 2 back post double crochets, then 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. Now if I'm going too quickly, which I can oftentimes do, and let's go ahead and end with a half double crochet. So if I am going too fast for you, I'm sorry, first of all. This is an intermediate project. I will go a little bit slower for the cabling portion. But there's one thing you can do. You can look across the bottom of the screen. You're going to have to stop the video first. And if you look across the bottom on the lower right hand side, I'll be over here for the left-handers. You can click on the gear-shaped icon. When you do that, it will bring up a playback speed, and you can select a slower playback speed, and it will greatly slow this process down for you. If you are, on the other hand, bored and want to speed it up, you can certainly do that as well. Just select the speed that you would like to have this video play at. This particular thing works for all YouTube, and it works now for the Watch channel, my paid subscriber channel as well on Vimeo. All right, so let's go on. And also let me just add that if you're watching on a cell phone, it'll be up in the upper right hand corner. There'll be 3 vertical dots, and that will also bring up the playback menu. All right, so this is what you're going to have after completing 9 rows. Let's go ahead and turn, and this is the row with which we will begin the cables. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to work a front post double crochet in those next 2 stitches, and then a back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, followed by 2 more front post double crochets. So after that last front post double, we're going to work a wattle stitch in the next stitch with a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet worked in the same space. We're going to skip only 1 stitch, and then we're going to work half double crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to work 2 half doubles in the chain 2 space. All right, so now the wattle stitch is going to be kind of a spacer in between the basket weave and the stitches that we're going to work over here. So let's go ahead and turn, chain 2. We're going to work 1 half double in each of those 3 stitches. When we come to the wattle stitch, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet worked in that chain 1 space only. And then we return to the basket weave. We have 2 rows of the back post, so then we switch back to the front post double crochet in those next 2 stitches, followed by 2 back post followed by 2 more front post double crochets and a half double worked in the turning chain. Let's go ahead and turn. So this is what you should have after completing 11 rows. Let's go ahead and chain 2, and now we're going to continue with 2 back post double crochets, two front post double crochets, and 2 back post. Now we're going to work a wattle stitch in the wattle stitch, which again is single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then working in the 3 half doubles, we're going to work half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work 2 more in that turning chain. And so this is what you should have at the end of 12 rows. For row 13, we're going to turn, chain 2, and we're going to half double in each of those stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to work a wattle stitch worked in that chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we have 2 front posts here, so we're going to do 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 front post double crochets, and 2 back post double crochets, and half double in the turning chain. This is what you should have after completing 13 rows, and this is the back side. Turn. This is going to be row 14, and yes, the front side will be the even numbered rows. Go ahead and chain 2, and now this is where we actually begin the cabling. It takes us 13 rows, and then on row 14 we're going to begin the cables. Skip that first stitch. Oh, I'm just going to do a back post. It's going to be a front post. There's just 1 row, so we need to do another row of front post double crochets, or 2 stitches anyway, and then 2 stitches with back post double crochets, and then 2 more front posts. As you work your way through this pattern, hopefully you won't have to be glued to the actual written pattern, and you will just know intuitively that after 2 rows that you will change what you are working on as far as the front post or the back post. Come to that wattle, W-A-T-T-L-E, wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet worked into the chain 1 space. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches to work in. So what we're going to do is we're going to work in 4 of these. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches. We're going to work front post treble crochets in the next 2. Okay, so you've skipped 2 front post treble, and then front post treble in the next stitch. Working behind these 2 stitches, because we're making foundational wheat stitches, we're going to work front post treble in this stitch and then in this stitch. And so I use the nerve endings in my fingers to locate the stitch. Then we come, prepare the stitch, we come into behind these 2 stitches, and we're going to work our hook around that first stitch, and we come in again from behind and we locate the stitch with our fingers, and then we work the hook around that stitch for a post treble crochet, front post treble, so that the stitches cross like this. And there is a reason for the madness. Once we work a little bit further, you'll understand it. And then we're going to work a double crochet in the next stitch, and then a double crochet in the next, or 2 double crochets in the turning chain. Okay, and if you have a question as why am I now doing double crochets instead of half doubles down here, and it has to do with the height of the cables when you cross them here. Okay, let's go ahead and chain 2, and we're going to turn, and so we're going to work half doubles now, because the stitches that we're going to be using over these cables are going to be shorter. They're going to be back post doubles, but we're going to work half double, half double, half double in each of those 3 stitches. And then when we work on the cable part, we're going to work back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me say one more thing before I go further. When we worked behind these first 2 cables in this particular technique, I also sometimes call this a back cross. So instead of working in front of the stitches, we'd call that a front cross. We worked behind those 2 stitches, so we're calling that a back cross. We get to the wattle stitch, we work the wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And this is just a small piece of fabric that's kind of recessed in the cabling motif, and it kind of helps to enhance the beauty of the cables. Okay, so we've had 2 rows with these post stitches, so it's time to reverse them. So we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets, and 2 front post double crochets. And then we're going to work a half double worked into the turning chain. Chain 2, and let's turn. And this is what we have so far. Now we're going to continue with the basket weave, and we only have 1 row work, so we have back post, so we're going to work back post again to begin. Do that in the first 2 stitches, and then we switch to 2 front post double crochets, and then we have 2 back post double crochets. Okay, so we have formed, we have our wattle stitch to do. Let's go ahead and do that. Single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in the wattle stitch. Now we're going to our cables again, and just for those of you who have followed some of my work earlier, this is just half of the wheat cable. Once we add additional stitches, we're going to see the other half, which will be in 2 rows, so stay tuned. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working behind these 2 stitches. We're going to work a back cross or front post treble in this stitch, and then in this stitch again, coming into the back section. And I'll be sure to have additional stitch videos you can watch on these techniques, and I'll look in the video descriptions below. Come into a hole again, locate that next stitch, which is right here, and then kind of guide it with your fingers there so that you can complete that stitch. And again, we have the taller stitches, so we're going to work double crochets in those stitches, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the chain space. So this is what you should have after working 16 rows. Now we're going to turn, and again chain 2. And for the record, the chain does not count as a double crochet. I refer to this as a turning chain in the written pattern. All right, so now to go across, we're going to work half doubles in each of those stitches, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. So we'll have enough to complete the wheat stitch on the next pass. So then we're going to work back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches. Come to that wattle stitch. You know what to do. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which is what a wattle stitch is. It's a combination of those 3 stitches. Come to the basket weave. You have 2 front posts, so it's time to reverse it. Back post double crochet in those 2 stitches, followed by front post double crochet, followed by 2 back post double crochet, and half double in the turning chain. So this is what you will have after 17 rows. Now we begin row 18, the chain 2, and I'm just going to talk you through some of this. We're going to do 2 front posts, 2 back posts, 2 front posts, and then work the wattle stitch, and then I will show you how to work the cable. So now we're working the wheat cable. We're going to work both sides, not just one side this time. We're going to skip 2 stitches, front post, treble in those next 2 stitches, just the way we've done every other row so far. I prepare the hook. Working behind those 2 stitches, we're going to come back into the hole from behind, and we're going to front post treble here and then here. So let's go ahead and do the first stitch. And the next stitch. And I locate it right there. And we do that front post around. I mean, you can just pull this down to locate the stitches too, but I think it's just very helpful to have them located with the nerve endings in your fingers. Okay, so these have only been back crosses that we've done so far. Now we're going to do a front cross, and I think you're going to find this to be much easier. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped, and we will actually have a real small wheat cable begun. And then let's work in that last stitch, working in to the top loops here, work a double crochet, and then 2 double crochets worked into the turning chain. Okay. So that was row 18. And so now you see the wheat stitch, how it opens up on one side and then on the other. And this is just going to continue on. Everything that we do, like these patterns that we set up with the basket weave, the wattle stitches, and also this is, we're going to call this the small wheat stitch. This is just going to continue on until our last row, really, until we end with the ribbing at the end. So and as well as the increase by working 2 stitches, either double crochets or half doubles, depending on what we do. I think it's most likely going to be double crochets, but that is going to continue throughout as well. Okay, so now we're going to turn, chain 2, And we're going to work half double crochets into those 3 stitches, working through the top loops. Now we have our 8 stitches of the wheat cable. We're going to go ahead and work back post double crochets over each of those 8 stitches. Just take it slow and easy. Make sure your hook wraps around the body of the stitch as you work those back post double crochets. And then to wattle, going to the wattle stitch, we work the same, the wattle stitch. And now we get to the basket weave. We're going to work 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post. So we will be switching the direction on the back side facing each time. And then with the front side facing, we'll just be working what we see, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And then a half double in the turning chain. It's chain 2, turn, and so this is what you have after 19 rows, I believe. For row 20, we are just going to continue on with, I'm going to go ahead and talk you through this. 2 back posts, 2 front posts, 2 back posts, and go ahead and work a wattle stitch here, and then I'll join and show you how to work this cable once again. So just to be clear again on this wheat stitch, this is a 2-row repeat. Just like the basket weave is a 2-row repeat, this is also a 2-row repeat. You're always going to cross the cables with the small wheat cable. The large wheat cable is going to be worked a little differently, but with the small wheat cable that we're working here, you're always going to cross the cables with the front side facing, and then the second row of this is always going to be working the back post double crochets. Okay, so let's go ahead and cross this for you once again. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and working behind those 2 stitches, we come into the back side and we work a front post treble here and then here. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I am depending heavily upon the nerve endings in my tall man and thumbkin to get this accomplished. Then we skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. So you can see working in front is much less tricky than working behind. So again, this is row 20 and I've just completed the cable. Now it's time for us to make another wattle stitch. We're going to work in the top loops of this next stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet for that wattle stitch. We're going to skip just 1 stitch, then we're going to work a double crochet in that next stitch and 2 more in that turning chain. Alright, so now we have a wattle stitch here and a wattle stitch here, which again is going to separate just a little bit of space between these cables so the cables don't run into each other and really overwhelm one another. Alright, so we're going to turn. This is to start row 21, chain 2, and we're going to work half double crochets in those first 3 stitches. We're going to work a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space of the wattle stitch. And then I'm going to talk you through the rest. Back post double crochets over the next 8 stitches. That is the stitches that make up the wheat cable, waddle stitch, and then again we're going to reverse this, make that 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, and a half double in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 21. Now to start row 22, I've chained 2. We're going to work the basket weave. Let me just tell you what to do here. 2 front posts, 2 back posts, 2 front posts, and work that waddle stitch. And then I will work the cable with you again and the rest of the row. So this will be the last time for a while that I'm going to work this with you, because I don't want to bore you with the redundancy, but it will be good to just watch this again and nonetheless skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble. In the next 2 stitches, again we're working the back cross to start this side of the wheat cable. Coming into that hole, we're going to work front post treble over that first stitch we skipped, and then coming in again, front post treble over that next stitch. And the other side, skip those 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Whoops, let's try that again. There we go. And this time working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then we're going to work a waddle stitch in that next space. And so after working that waddle stitch, we're going to make sure we don't work in this stitch, because this is part of the waddle stitch. Make sure we work in the next stitch. We're going to work our double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 2 more in that turning chain. So this is what you should have after 22 rows. All right, let's turn for row 23. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to work half double crochets in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, a waddle stitch here. We're going to work 8 back post double crochets, followed by a waddle stitch, then 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front post, and a half double worked in the turning chain. So go ahead and work row 23. For row 24, we're going to chain 2 and work 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, a waddle stitch, and then we're going to work the wheat cable, row 1, once again, which is where you skip 2 front post treble, working behind front post treble in each of these stitches, etc. Waddle stitch, and then I will work the finishing stitches with you at the end here of row 24. So go ahead and work those stitches, and then I will show you the end of the row. As we go across row 24, I just want to gently remind you that when we come to these waddle stitches, we do not work in the tops of either this double crochet or the single crochets, but we're only working in the chain 1 space. For example, we would not work in this stitch because it's part of the waddle stitch. So make sure we don't do that, or else we'll be adding in additional stitches, which will give you a different stitch count from the written pattern. All right, so we're just going to work double crochets in each of the remaining stitches. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. Don't forget, going into the top loops of this stitch. It looks like the turning chain, but it is not. And then we work 2 additional stitches in that turning chain. So what this means is when we come around the next time, we have enough stitches, or it's getting close. We're getting closer to beginning the foundation for the next cable. We might have to do that in 2 more rows. Okay, so that is what you should have after finishing 24 rows. As you know, the rows are getting longer as we go. So for row 25, chain 2, and again, half doubles in each of those stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yes, on row 26 we will have enough stitches to begin half of the large cable. All right, waddle stitch in that next stitch, and then let me just finish out the row verbally with you. 8 back post double crochets, waddle stitch worked only in the chain 1 space. Then we're going to reverse the direction here, so we're going to go 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, and a half double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 25. For row 26, let me show you what I want you to do. But before we do that, this is what you should have after completing 25 rows. For row 26, we're going to chain 2, 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front post, the waddle stitch, and again we're going to do the wheat stitch where we cross the cables, do a back cross, then a front cross, waddle stitch, and then I will finish with this section here. I'll show you what I want you to do over these 7 stitches. Now at row 26 we come to the end of the row. We're going to begin the foundation column for the next stitches that we're going to work. So we're going to work front post double crochet in the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch, and then 3 more front post double crochets, and then 2 double crochets worked into the turning chain. So this is what you should have after completing 26 rows. For row 27, we are going to chain 2. We're going to work a half double crochet in each of those first 2 stitches, and then working over these post stitches, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, a half double worked into the center or the top part of that half double crochet, and then 3 more back post double crochets. This is setting up half of the large wheat cable. And then for the rest of this row, you know what to do. We're going to work a waddle stitch, 8 back post double crochets, a waddle stitch, and then 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front post, and a half double worked in the turning chain. This is what you should have after completing 27 rows. And just to let you know, I have marked the 20th row with a stitch marker just so that it's easy for me to keep track of the number of rows. And if you wanted to do that as well, that can often be very helpful on designs like this. Okay, so now for row 28, like I said, we have a chain 2. We're going to do 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, work in that waddle stitch, work the small wheat cable, then a waddle stitch, and then I'll show you how to cross these 2 columns once we get to that part, and I will finish this row with you. So go ahead and work through the waddle stitch, and then I'll show you how to proceed. Okay, I have worked over these stitches for row 28, and now let me show you what I want you to do. We're going to cross the cables here, these 2 columns, and the way we do this with the larger cabling is just a bit different. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, then we're going to work a half double crochet worked into the top loops of that half double crochet. After working that half double crochet, we're going to work front post trebles in each of the next 3 stitches, Now working behind those last 4 stitches, the 3 front post and the half double, we're going to come into the hole here from behind. This is going to be a large back cross. I'm going to come in to the space here, and we're going to work front post trebles here, here, and here around each of these 3 stitches again, using the nerve endings in your fingers. It's helpful to locate these stitches first. So that was the first stitch, and the second stitch is right here. Come back in here, and then my fingers direct my hook to that next stitch. Again, I will have additional stitch videos for you to watch on this. And the third time, come into that same hole and locate that third stitch here. And let's try that again. I need to make sure I have the stitch. Yes, I do. Make sure I don't grab any additional strands. And we have a back cross, which I realize doesn't look like much right now, but it will as we add additional rows. Okay, and then we're going to work a half double in that next stitch, and then we're going to work another half double worked into the last stitch. There we go. And then 2 half doubles worked into that turning chain. So this is what we have so far. All right, so now we're going to turn, and I'm going to work this first part and the last part together because we're going to do something a little bit different. Okay, so this is after row 28, or after 28 rows. This is what you should have. So now we're going to turn to do row 29 with the chain 2, half double in 1, 2, 3, and 1 more, 4 stitches. Now we're going to work back post, double crochet over the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. In between that last stitch and the next stitch, this is the place where these this large cable or large section of the cable was crossed. We're going to work a half double crochet just in between. You see where they crossed here? And you can even probably stick your pinky in there and just put a half double crochet right there in between. It acts as a spacer. It helps give further stitch definition. And then we're going to back post, double crochet over the next 3 stitches. And then we're going to work a wattle stitch in that next space. And now we're going to work 8 back post double crochets, a wattle stitch, and I will finish these last 7 stitches with you. So now, in order for the basket weave to keep up with the size of the stitches of the other cables, we're going to occasionally work a treble crochet row, or a front post and back post treble crochets. And that's what we're going to do now, starting on row 29. We're going to work 2 back post treble crochets, followed by 2 front post treble crochets, and again 2 back post treble crochets. There we go. And whenever you work those basket weave and trebles, we're going to work a double crochet in that turning chain, just like so. So let's go ahead and turn This is what you should have after completing 29 rows. And you can see how this is becoming a little more defined. All right, so now on to row 30. Let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to do. Chain 2, and we're going to work back in front post and back post double crochets, but let me go ahead and do that with you just so there's no confusion after working those trebles. Chain 2, we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets. And now to complete more of this, we're going to work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space. We're going to work that wheat stitch by working the back cross and then the front cross, a wattle stitch, and I will show you how the end of row 30 ends. Now working on the end of the row, we get to the large section of the cable. We're just going to work front post double crochets, half double, and that half double space worked into the top loops, and 3 more front post double crochets. So after working those stitches on the cable, we're going to add to this a bit. We're going to work a half double in that next stitch, and then we're going to work front post double crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the turning chain, and just like that. And so that's what you should have after completing 30 rows. So now for row 31, you can see I've just added an additional stitch marker just to know this was row 20, this is row 30. Just is going to help me with my stitch count, hopefully. So we're going to start with a chain 2. We're going to work a half double crochet in those first 2 stitches. The next 3 post stitches, we're going to work back post double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to work a half double crochet worked into the top loops of the next half double, and we're going to do this again, 3 more back post double crochets, and then another half double worked through the top loops, and again 3 more back post double crochets, and now we come to a wattle stitch. Work that single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which is the same as a wattle stitch. It's a combination of those 3 stitches, and then we're going to work 8 back post double crochets and a wattle stitch, and I'll work the end of this row with you once again. At the end of row 31, we're going to return to working post treble crochet. So we're going to work 2 front post treble crochets. Again, that's the taller stitch, and then 2 back post treble crochets, and then 2 front post trebles. And then work a double crochet in the turning chain. So that's what you should have after 31 rows. That's the back side, and this is the front side. Okay. So now we're going to work row 32, And let me go ahead and start this with you just till you get the hang of this. Since we did make a slight alteration in the basket weave, we're going to work 2 back post double crochets. So we're going to be alternating. So when the front side is facing, we're going to work front post double crochets or in back post. Okay, so we worked 2 back post double crochets, then we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. And if for any reason you hear me misspeak, it is totally unintentional in regard to these stitches, but follow what you see. The visual of what I'm doing is what I am intending to say. Sometimes it's very easy to misspeak with all the variety of stitches in these given rows. All right, and then we're going to work that wattle stitch again. And let me talk you through the rest of this because I think you'll understand. Now we're going to work the weed stitch again where we cross the cables. Remember, every time the front side is facing, we're going to cross them in the same way. A front cross, and a back cross where you work behind the stitches, and then a front cross, a wattle stitch. And I'm going to cross these cables again, and I will work this section with you. Okay, I've worked to the point of the large cable. And of course, we don't have the entire cable yet. We will in a couple more rows. Now, the last time we crossed this cable was on row 28. And now we have row 29, 30, 31, 32. So 4 rows later, we're going to cross them again. So what that tells us is that the wheat cable, the large wheat cable, is a 4-stitch repeat. Just review again. The small wheat cable is a 2-stitch or a 2-row repeat. Okay, just wanted to say that just to be clear. Okay, so in order to cross this cable, let's do this again. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch, and we're going to front post treble in the next 3 stitches. Okay, and again, working behind the last 4 stitches, those 3 post stitches and the half double. We come into this opening again from behind, and we work front post treble here, here, and here. Again, using the nerve endings in those fingers. I know I am being redundant here, but that's part of being a teacher, is to repeat things again and again. I don't assume you understand everything or hear it the first time. I certainly don't. So again, come in for that second stitch right here. And the third stitch. Again, if you're not sure where that opening is, just look for that hole created by skipping those first 3 stitches, and you should be there. All right, so now we have another half of the cable anyway is crossed, and then half double in that next stitch. And obviously, if this, once the other part of this becomes available, we will cross it too, but we don't have it available just yet, so we're going to work 3 front post double crochets there, and half double in that next stitch, a double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 more double crochets. All right, so when we come through to cross these in 4 additional rows, we will have a complete wheat cable. So this is what you should have after completing 32 rows. Let's turn, chain 2, and now this is with the back side facing. We're going to work half double crochets in each of those 4 stitches. And I'm going to work this row with you because it's pretty unique. We're going to work back post double crochets over the next 3 stitches, a half double worked in the next stitch. Now this is working over the cross cables, and let me show you, once we get to the center, which is where those 2 columns were crossed, we're going to work a half double crochet there. I just wanted to point that out before I get to it. So back post, double crochets in the next 3 stitches, now this is where we work in between that last stitch and the next stitch. We work a half double crochet and then back post doubles in the next 3 stitches. Waddle stitch in that next space. And let me tell you what I want you to do over the remainder. Back post double crochets over these next 8 stitches, waddle stitch, and we're going to go back to treble crochets. That's the taller stitch. 2 back post treble, 2 front post treble, 2 back post treble, and a double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 33. All right, so now for row 34, we're going to chain 2, and we're going back to the smaller stitch. We're going to 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post doubles, 2 front post doubles, a waddle stitch. Working over the small wheat cable, we work a back cross here and a front cross here, a waddle stitch, and I will work this section with you when we come to the large cable. So once we get to the large cable, we're going to work front post double crochets over the next 3 stitches. We're going to work a half double worked into that half double, working through the top loops. Front post double crochets over the next 3 stitches. Half double in the next half double. 3 more front post double crochets, and it looks like we're going to have enough for our 4th column here, which is going to be great. Half double in that next stitch, and we're going to work front post double crochets over the next 3 stitches. And then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the turning chain. So let's take a look at this. So this is what you should have after completing 34 rows. And this is growing nicely here. All right, so now let me give you a preview of what's going to happen in 2 rows. When we get to row, let's see, this is row 34. When we get to row 36, we're going to cross these 2 columns as well as these 2 columns. And you're going to, all right, well, let's go ahead and we're going to go on to row 35. They chain 2, and I'll go ahead and work part of this with you. We're going to work a half double into those first 2 stitches, and then we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then a half double in that next stitch. 3 more back post double crochets, half double in that next half double. 3 more back post double crochets. So hopefully you're seeing a pattern here. It's very redundant, I will say that, and the trickiest part really would be the crossing of the cables, and once you master that, I believe you'll really enjoy these type of designs. Half double in that next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. I'm going to pause because you should know what to do for the rest of this. We're going to work a wattle stitch, back post double crochets over these 8 stitches, a wattle stitch, and then we return with the back side facing. We're going to 2 front post treble crochets, that's the taller stitch, 2 back post treble, and then 2 front post treble. We're reversing it as well. And then a double crochet worked into the chain 2 space. So go ahead and finish row 35. For row 36, we're going to start with the chain 2, and we're back to the front post and back post double crochets for the basket weave. So we're going to work 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and then we're going to work a back cross and then a front cross over the weed stitch, just the way we've been doing, wattle stitch, and then I will work the large cable crossing with you. Alright, so now we're ready to cross the large cables, but before we do that, I just wanted to reiterate how this is a 4-row repeat. So the last time, or the first time this cable was crossed was on row 28, and then 29, 30, 31, 32, it was crossed again. So now we're at row 33, 34, 35. We're working now on row 36, so it's 4 rows later. So if you get confused, just know that this large cable is crossed only with the front side facing and every 4 rows. And if you're confused on that, you can even put a stitch marker every 4 rows, or just do the stitch count or the row count like I just did. And that may help you figure that out as you go. Of course, visually, you should be able to see that after a while. So now to cross this large wheat cable for the first time with both sides, skip 3 stitches, half double in that half double crochet, front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches, and the next part you've seen a couple times, but I understand it's good to see it more than twice. Working in behind these 4 stitches, we're going to come into the opening behind, and we're going to work front post trebles in those 3 stitches, again using the nerve endings in your fingers, your finger and your thumb. Come in for the second stitch, I locate that stitch right there, and the third time into that same opening for that 3rd stitch, which is right here. Make sure you don't get the half double crochet, but you focus on attaching that to the treble, front post trebles. Now we work a half double and that half double, and again we completed another back cross because we worked back behind these 4 stitches. Now we're going to do a large front cross over here. Even though we just worked that half double crochet, we're going to skip 3 stitches again and put the half double in that next half double. And granted, this looks like a mess right now, but we're not done. We're not even close to being done. Front post treble in the next 3 stitches. Like that. Now working in front of those 4 stitches, this is a bit easier. We're going to come all the way over here and work front post trebles here, here, and here. So it's a lot easier to just work in front than coming in to the opening, that little hole behind your work. So 3 front post trebles there. And before we go any further, let me just show you how this looks. And it's going to be more defined as we go forward. So this is opening this direction, and this is opening that direction. So you can see it's a larger cable, larger than the small wheat, but I think they're going to complement each other. Okay, so now it's time to work another wattle stitch. So in the next stitch, which is here, we're going to work single crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet for the wattle stitch. Skip the next stitch, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the turning chain. Just like that. And that's what we have after working 36 rows. Now for row 37, we're going to turn chain 2. I just wanted to warn you that this stitch here is part of the wattle stitch, and we're not going to work in the top of that loop, okay, in those loops. We're going to work first half doubles in the first 2 stitches, and now working in that wattle stitch, we're going to work in that chain 1 space. Just want to make sure we're not adding an additional stitch there, and it would be very confusing if you're following the video and the written pattern. Okay, so now working across the large cable, back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches, half double worked between the last stitch and the next stitch. Again, is the center where those 2 columns crossed, and then 3 more back post double crochets, okay, so now we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to work a half double in the half double, which is in the center of where these 2 columns are crossed. It's the center of the big cable. Okay, and the reason, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the reason behind the design, but just know that by adding in this stitch and skipping this stitch, you end up, that extra stitch cancels out, so you still end up with a continuous stitch count. Although even though this stitch count is changing continuously, you're not adding any additional stitches to the cable itself. And we're going to do that again on the other side. Back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Half double worked into the next. Actually, it's the space between the last stitch and the next stitch again. If you look at it this way, it's where those 2 columns crossed, the second set of columns, and then back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And I'm going to turn this just for a second to look at the front side and just show you how this helps to define this stitch, and you'll see it even more clearly after we work another row. All right, now the rest of this, I'm just going to talk you through it. We're going to work a wattle stitch, 8 back post double crochets, wattle stitch, and this is where we work the tall stitches, 2 back post trebles, 2 front post trebles, and 2 back post trebles, and a double crochet in that turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 37. For row 38, let me talk you through the beginning of this. We're going to chain 2, 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, wattle stitch, and over the wheat cable, the small wheat cable, we work a back cross and then a front cross, wattle stitch in the chain 1 space. Over the columns of each of these, 3 front post double crochets, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, and then I'll work the ending of this with you. At the end of row 38, we're going to work that wattle stitch. I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget about that. And then we're going to work double crochets. We're not going to work in this one because this is part of the wattle stitch. But the next stitch, we work a double crochet and the double crochet in the next stitch. And then 2 double crochets worked into the turning chain. So this is what you should have after completing 38 rows. All right, for row 39, we're going to turn, chain 2, we're going to work half doubles in 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and then we work that wattle stitch. Now I'm going to talk you through the rest of this, which I think you're going to find fairly easy. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets, half double, and when I say half double, it's always worked into the top loops, not as a post stitch. 3 back post doubles, half double, 3 back post doubles, half double, 3 back post doubles. Then we work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space, and now we work 8 back post doubles across the small wheat stitch, work a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and then we're back to the treble crochets, the back post. Actually, we're going to work 2 front post treble crochets, 2 back post treble crochets, and 2 front post treble crochets, and and a double crochet. I'm trying to catch myself. A double crochet worked into the chain 2 space since the back side is facing us. So go ahead and complete row 39. Now this is what you should have after completing 39 rows. This does come together quite quickly once we're setting up these cables. Okay, now for row 40. We are going to start with the chain 1. We're going to do 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, a wattle stitch. We're going to work a back cross over this side and a front cross over this side of that small wheat cable, and we're going to work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space. And I'm going to cross these cables with you one more time. Well, probably more than one more time, but I'm going to cross these cables with you. So go ahead and work to this wattle stitch, and I'll show you the rest of row 40. Okay, now it's time to cross the cables again. And remember, we crossed them on row 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So it's been 4 rows. Every 4th row, we're going to cross the cables. We're going to, the large cable that is. Of course, this cable is going to cross every other row. Skip these 3 stitches, half double in that half double crochet, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, working behind those last 4 stitches, that's the half double and those 4 treble front post trebles, we come back into this hole to work our large back cross, front post treble in those 3 stitches that we skipped. Again, being very deliberate here to grab the next stitch, and again my finger and thumb are guiding the tip of my hook where it needs to go. And by all means, slow this down if you need to. Take your time to locate the proper stitch as you do this, especially the 3rd stitch, because it is close to that half double crochet and you don't want to mistakenly put the cable or the post stitch around the wrong stitch. Half double crochet in that next stitch, skip the next 3 stitches, half double in the next half double, again working in those top loops. Now we're going to front post treble in the next 3 stitches, and now working in front of those 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in each of those stitches that we just skipped. 1, 2, and 3. Well, let's do that one again since it didn't like what I was doing. All right. Now we get to that wattle stitch, and go ahead and work in that chain one space of that wattle stitch. And then we're going to take a little pause and just take a look at what we've worked. And as you get on into this pattern, I do encourage you to take a visual check to make sure that you have crossed the cables and whatnot in the right way. It's very easy to just get carried away and cross them the opposite direction and then not find out for a few rows later. Then you have to do ripping out. It wouldn't be so bad with the number of stitches we have now, but when you get towards the end of this, you're going to have hundreds of stitches per row, and it can be rather painful. Don't know exactly what the stitch count's going to be, but you get my drift. The more stitches you have to rip out, the more painful that whole process can be. But believe me, as a designer, I have probably ripped out 10 times more than most people just in the design process. After the wattle stitch, now we're going to begin the foundation for another small wheat cable, and it's going to look a lot like what we worked right down here by working a back cross. So we're going to do that over these next 4 stitches. Be careful not to work in this stitch because that is part of the wattle stitch. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet in those 2 stitches, and working behind those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped, just like you've been working on that first small wheat cable. Okay, after we do that, we're going to work 2 double crochets worked into that turning chain. So this is what you should have after completing 40 rows. And just to be deliberate with my stitch count, I'm going to go ahead and add a stitch marker just to let me know that that is row number 40. Now we're going to chain 2 and turn for row 41. Let me go ahead and work the beginning of this with you. We're going to work half double in that first stitch and in the second stitch. Now we're working behind that beginnings of that small wheat cable. So we're going to work 4 back post double crochets, and then we have the wattle stitch, and we're again working behind the cable after they have been crossed. This is the large wheat cable, and again I'm sticking my finger in between where those columns cross, because you know that's where you're going to put that half double crochet, 1 in here and 1 in here. That's very important. So back post double crochets in the next 3 stitches, half double worked in the center where those cables crossed, and then back post double crochets in the next 3 stitches, and like I showed you before, we're going to skip this stitch because we have added this stitch, and this happens on this side as well, and we're just going to work in that center half double crochet, and then back post double in the next 3 stitches, again working in between that last stitch and the next stitch, again where the cable or the columns were crossed, half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And to finish out the row, wattle stitch, 4 and 4, so a total of 8 back post double crochets, wattle stitch in the next chain 1 of the wattle stitch. And then to reverse this, we're going to work 2 back post treble crochets, 2 front post trebles, 2 back post trebles, and a double crochet worked into the chain 2 turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 41. This is what you should have after having completed 41 rows. So now for row 42, we're going to work 2 after the chain 2, 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, the wattle stitch. We're going to work a back cross over these 4 stitches, a front cross over these 4 stitches, making up this small honeycomb, a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space. We're going to work front post double crochets over these columns with the half doubles in between. So remember, 3 front post, half double, 3 front posts. These are double crochets. Half double and in between, 3 front post doubles, half double, 3 front post double crochets. Then we're going to work a wattle stitch, and I will work the end of this row with you. Row 42 ends by working a back cross over those next 4 stitches. I'm going to just work that with you again. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble over the next 2 stitches, and working behind those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble over those 2 stitches that we just skipped, again coming into the opening behind those first 2 stitches worked. And then we're going to work double crochets in each of the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets in the turning chain. And so you know what that means. The next time we come this direction, we will have enough stitches to complete the small wheat stitch so that our scarf will look symmetrical. For row 43, we are going to turn. Let me just talk you through this one. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4 half double crochets, back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches, a wattle stitch, and then we're going to work back post double crochets over 3 stitches, and then a half double, 3 back post double crochets, a half double, 3 back post double crochets, a half double, 3 back post double crochets, and then a wattle stitch, and then again 8 more back post double crochets, a wattle stitch, and then back to the trebles, 2 front post trebles, 2 back post trebles, 2 front post trebles, and a double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and complete row 43. This is what you should have after completing 43 rows. Now we're going to go ahead and start on row 44, and we will be able to complete the second section of this small wheat cable. Okay, so we're going to start with the chain 2. And let me go ahead and talk you through the bulk of this. 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post doubles, 2 back post doubles, a wattle stitch, a back cross, a front cross on the small wheat cable, a wattle stitch, and then we're going to cross these cables. I'll go ahead and start at this point, and I will cross these cables with you once I complete the beginning of the row. So now we come to the large wheat cable, and it's time to cross the cables again. I will show this to you one more time. We're going to skip those 3 stitches, half double in that next half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, now we're going to work behind those last 4 stitches. We're going to come into the hole, and we're going to work 1, 2, 3 front post trebles. I am doing this a little bit faster, but this is the 3rd time that you've seen the entire large cable cross. Again, if you need additional stitch support, check the video description below and I will try to have those links available for you so you can see this on other on a stitch sample. Half double in that next stitch and then skip 3 stitches again, half double in that next half double, front post trebles in the next 3 stitches, now working in front of those last 4 stitches, we front post treble in the 3 stitches that we skipped. Okay, so I'm going to finish out this row with you. Wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch. And now we are to the point of the next the small wheat cable. Skip 2 stitches, and this again is where we work a back cross. So we front post treble in those 2 stitches, and working behind those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. After that, we're going to double crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. Let's go ahead and take a look. And now you can see the completed cabled section for this shawl or scarf, however long you want to make this. So all the cabling is there. The only thing that I need to show you is how to add wattle stitches, which I will show you in 2 rows. Okay, so we'll be ready to add wattles in here. This is row 44. On row 46, we will begin the section that will be repeating throughout. Okay, so we're going to turn, and for row 45, let me go ahead and just give you the lowdown on this. Chain 2, half double, back post double in 8 stitches, wattle stitch, and I've shown this to you a few times, so we're going to back post in 3, back post double crochet in 3 stitches, and then where those 2 cables are crossed, we work a half double, 3 more back post double crochets, half double in this stitch, of course we're skipping this one, but half double in the center, back post double in the next 3 stitches, and then again where those 2 columns are crossed, half double in between the next stitch and the last stitch, and then 3 more back post doubles, wattle stitch, 8, I was going to say 4, but 8 back post doubles, wattle stitch, and this is where we reverse it, and we're using trebles with the back side facing from this point on. 2 back post treble crochets, 2 front post trebles, 2 back post trebles, and a double crochet worked into the chain 2 turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 45. Now for row 46, we're going to chain 2, and again working in pattern stitch. You should be sensing the rhythm of this at this point. 2 front post doubles, 2 back post doubles, 2 front post doubles, the wattle stitch, again a back cross, a front cross, wattle stitch. We're working front post double crochets over all of these post stitches and half doubles in between, wattle stitch. When we get to this other wheat cable, we work a back cross and a front cross, and I'll work the end of the row with you because again we're setting up what we're going to be repeating for the remainder of this project. At the end of row 46, let's go ahead and work the second part of this wheat stitch. This is the small wheat stitch or wheat cable. And then again, you're working in front for that second part. And I'm going to pause here for you. Okay. So now we come to the end of the row, and we're going to work a wattle stitch. We're going to work in the top loops of that double crochet, or I guess it was a half double. Work a wattle stitch, skip the next stitch, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets worked into the turning chain. Okay, so every other row, so when the front side is facing, every other row, we will be adding an additional wattle stitch to grow this other side. We're not going to be adding any more cables to this. So this will just continue to work out in pattern stitch, but I will try to do the next 3 rows with you so that you understand how this all works out. Okay, so this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's row 46. Let's turn to do row 47. Again, start with the chain 2, and we're going to half double in those first 2 stitches, and then we're going to work a wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch. And let me talk you through the rest of this. Back post double crochets over the next 9 stitches, wattle stitch, and then working over the back of the large cable, we're going to do the 3 back post doubles, half double, 3 back post, half double, and again 3 back post double crochets, half double, 3 back post double crochets, a wattle stitch, 8, I was going to say 4 again, but 8 back post double crochets, wattle stitch, and then we go back to the trebles and reverse the direction. So it's going to be 2 front post trebles, 2 back post trebles, 2 front post trebles, and a double crochet worked into the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 47. Now for row 48, we're going to start with the chain 2, 2 back post double crochet, 2 front post double, 2 back post doubles, a wattle stitch, a back cross, a front cross to make this small wheat stitch, a wattle stitch, and this is the row where we're going to cross the cables again. So remember, we're going to cross by skipping 3, half double, front post treble in each of these 3 stitches, then working behind these 4 stitches, we front post treble in these 3 skipped stitches, half double, skip these 3, half double, front post treble in these 3 stitches, working in front of these last 4 stitches, front post treble in the 3 stitches that were skipped. We're going to work a wattle stitch here, and again a back cross and a front cross, and I will work this section with you because I just want to be sure that you understand how the wattle stitches are added. It's the same thing that we did 2 rows below, but I wanted to just do this again with you just to be sure. So this is what you should have so far when working row 48. And let's go ahead and work the end of the row. We have a wattle stitch here to work in. Remember, we added that 2 rows ago. Now we have 2 remaining stitches, and working in that next stitch, we're going to work another wattle stitch. And we're going to skip the last stitch, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into the turning chain. So this is what you should have after completing 48 rows. So let me just show you again what is going to happen now going forward. At the end, we're going to work in each wattle stitch, and then in 2 more rows we will do just what we did here again. We're going to work a wattle stitch in the remaining wattle stitches, and you're going to add one additional wattle stitch every other row. Again, starting at row 46, we have one wattle stitch at row 46. We have two at row 48. We're going to have 3 at row 50. We're going to have 4 at row 52, etc. So that's how this side is going to continue to grow, and the stitches across here are going to remain the same in pattern stitch. You're going to be repeating, just working on the small wheat stitch. Again, it's a 2-row repeat. You'll be working the wattle stitches consistently, and again, the basket weave is a 2-row repeat. And from this point on, when the front side is facing, you will just work the stitches as you see them. We're using front and back post double crochets. With the back side facing, you will work front and back post treble crochets. That's the longer stitch with the back side facing. Okay, the large wheat cable is a 4-row repeat. So you're going to cross these cables every 4 rows, and it's going to be on the even numbered rows. Front side facing will be evenly numbered rows. Back side facing will be the odd numbered rows. All right, so let's go on to row 49. I'll give a little bit of guidance on the next 3 rows and then send you off on repeats. We're going to chain 2, work a half double crochet in those first 2 stitches, and then we go to working the wattle stitches in those first or the next wattle stitches. Of course, if you are going to watch this on rows as they repeat again and again, you will have a various number of wattle stitches depending on how many rows you've worked. Then we work back post double crochets across the small wheat cable, wattle stitch, and again we're going to work across the large cable. You have 3 back post double crochets, and this is the part where you work a half double where those 2 columns cross. 3 back post double crochets, half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets and a half double in between where those columns cross. 3 back post doubles, wattle stitch, 8 back post double crochets, wattle stitch, and again returning to back post trebles, 2 here, 2 front post trebles, 2 back post trebles, and a double crochet in that last stitch. So go ahead and work row 49. This is what you should have after completing 49 rows, and you can see the piece is growing nicely, and we have quite a nice triangle in progress. All right, so now we've come to the point where you can repeat rows 46, 47, 48, and 49 over and over again, and that will be the repeat. Now, in doing that, you just want to also be careful that you are repeating the basket weave carefully. So let's take a look at that. That's 46, 47, 48, and 49. So I just wanted to check the basket weave section, and yes, this should be a bona fide repeat. In other words, nothing should vary as you look at rows 46 through 49. I'll put a little time mark across the bottom so that you can take a look at that should you need a refresher. Even though I'm mostly verbally giving instructions on what to do for these rows, I think if you've worked this far successfully, you should understand it best. And as I've said before, always take a pause at the end of a cabling row and just make sure that the cables look consistent and are correct. All right, this is what I have. Across on the wattle stitch side, I have 54 wattle stitches, and that does not include
the 2 stitches that we will work at the end of this upcoming row. Now this is where I am going to transition back to the ribbed section. I'm going to actually work basket weave in lieu of a more traditional ribbing, but we're going to have to transition all of these stitches to either half doubles or double crochets or post stitches in order to do that. So that's what this row is going to be all about. So let me show you how we're going to do this. Now the first 6 stitches are just going to be continued the way we've been doing this, but we are going to no longer use the back post or front post treble crochets. We're going to go back to just front and back post double crochets for the remainder of these rows. And also let me mention that if you don't want this as large as the one that I'm working on now, if you perhaps only had 2 hanks of yarn and you wanted to make more smaller scarf, just transition it at the point after you've worked the it's actually, I'm not sure what the number is, but we work 2 rows prior, we cross the cables, and then we work the row where you work the back post double crochets across these cables, and you should be good to transition. So we're going to start with the chain 2 and just skip that first stitch and just continuing like you've been doing with the basket weave. 2 front post. Of course, if you're working fewer rows, you might have back post, but just follow the basket weave pattern using front and back post double crochets. Now we're going to work in the wattle stitch, and we're going to transition this back to double crochet. So we're going to work 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet. We're not going to work in the double crochet at all. So after working those 3 double crochets, we are going to work front post double crochets across all these stitches. So there will be 8 front post double crochets. And we come to the next wattle stitch. Again, skip the double crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and then 1 in that single crochet. And now we come to the large wheat cable. Go ahead and work 3 front post double crochets. This is just work what you would normally work on this section. We're going to work a half double in that half double. Now when we work the next row, when we're working the 2 front posts, 2 back posts, the half doubles will be treated the same as the front post double crochets. So just 3 double crochets over the next 3 stitches, half double, that half double, and again we're going to finish this out. Half double, worked in that half double, and then again 3 more front post double crochets, and again the wattle stitch, skip that double crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and 1 in that single crochet. After that, we again come to the small wheat cable, and again front post double crochet over each of these 8
stitches. Okay, so now we come to the bulk of what we're going to be doing in this row, and that is working over the wattle stitches. And again, skip that double crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet. We're going to work that all the way until we get to the end. And when we get to the end of the row, I'll show you what to do, because we're going to add additional stitches there so we can kind of keep the shape of this shawl consistent. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause and just look at that. So go ahead and continue this 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, 1 in the single crochet as you work across all of those wattle stitches. So we do have now a total of 204 stitches after we work those last 2, which is a multiple of 4, but we want to go ahead and work some additional stitches in this stitch, so in the turning chain. So we're going to work 4 stitches and we're going to work 1 additional, so we're going to work 5 in that corner. And the reason we've worked the 5th stitch is because when we turn to work the basket weave, remember we always skip the 1st stitch, so we're still going to have a multiple of 4. So we're going to go ahead and turn. So following those 2 chains, again skipping that 1st stitch because that's the end stitch, 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. And we're going to repeat this all the way across the row, and it should end up correctly going into that basket weave at the very end of the row, which is the beginning of the next row. So again, 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across. Now that we're at the end of the row, I just wanted to show you these last 6 stitches, how we are again returning to front post double crochets. We're no longer doing the trebles here. And I did reverse the order, just the way we have been doing when working with the backside facing. So I worked 2 front posts, 2 back posts, 2 front posts. And since we're now using front and back post double crochets, we're going to end with a half double at the end of the row. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn. And for the next row, we're going to chain 2. And like I said before, we're just going to continue on with 2 rows of like stitches for the basket weave. So which would mean we're going to do 2. Let me try that again. Start with 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 front post double crochets, and then we have 2 more back posts, etc. And that's what we're going to do all the way across the row. And again, when you get to the end, to the turning chain at the very end of the row, that will be worked with a half double crochet from here on out. And so after this row, it will be time to change the direction again. So let me just show you this over this section here. So once we complete this row, then we're going to work 4 additional rows in the same pattern stitch. So in other words, the rows following will reverse. The next row will reverse the order or the direction from front post to back post, the opposite of what you see. Then you work that for 2 rows, and then 2 more rows, again, reversing it, just the way we've been working this all along. So go ahead and finish. This would be, okay, so this is the foundation row, 2, 3. So that would be rows 3 that I just showed you. Then we're going to work 4,
5, 6, and 7. So rows 3 through 7. Go ahead and finish that, and then you will fasten off at the end of that last row and then hide all your loose ends.
Well, I hope you enjoyed crocheting my Quadro Triticale, and I hope some of you got my little Trekkie reference there on the title. And if you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to comment in the comment section below. God bless. Bye-bye.